How did a group that seemed to have it all suddenly disappear from the public eye? What led to the meteoric rise of Abba, a band whose very name evokes nostalgia? If you grew up listening to their songs or even discovered them years later, you likely felt the magic they brought to the music world. But how did this Swedish quartet, made up of 4 friends, manage to captivate the globe? It wasn't merely luck, it was an ideal storm of talent, timing, and a sprinkle of fairy tale charm. Today we delve back to the beginning, tracing Abba's transformation from a small Swedish band to an international icon. Their journey is as thrilling as the music they created. In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel TV Stars, give it a like and leave a comment of at least 7 words, and if you feel like it, share this video with others. It will really help my channel. Thank you, and let's keep going. The saga of Abba began in the late 1960s, long before the world realized what awaited them. 2 young musicians, Björn Ulvaeus and Benny Andersson, were already carving their paths in the local music scene. Björn was a member of a folk group known as the Hootenanny Singers, while Benny played keyboards for a rock band called the Hep Stars. Both were chasing their dreams, unaware that fate had grand plans for them. It was during these formative years that Björn and Benny crossed paths, quickly recognizing their undeniable musical chemistry. Around the same time, 2 remarkable women, Agnetha Fältskog and Anni-Frid, fondly known as Frida, were making their own marks as jazz singers with an elegant and sultry style. Little did they know that their lives would be forever altered when their worlds collided with those of Björn and Benny. By the early 1970s, Björn and Benny had started writing songs together, and their collaboration was gaining momentum. They soon decided to invite their partners, Agnetha and Frida, to join them. Initially, they sang informally as a quartet, simply for the joy of it. However, there was something extraordinary about the way their voices blended. It wasn't just good, it was magical. This magic evolved into something greater. In 1973, the group participated in Melodifestivalen, Sweden's national selection contest for the Eurovision Song Contest. That year they didn't win, but they returned stronger in 1974, armed with the song Waterloo. This song was not merely a tune, it was a revolution. When Abba performed it at the Eurovision contest in Brighton, they brought something the competition had never witnessed before. Their vibrant outfits, infectious energy, and electrifying sound set them apart from the typical Eurovision acts of the time. They didn't just win, they stole the show, thrusting themselves into the international spotlight. The success of Waterloo was instant and overwhelming. Suddenly everyone wanted to know more about this quirky group with the amusing acronym, Abba, standing for Agnetha, Björn, Benny, and Anni-Frid. The world was captivated by their unforgettable melodies, and the group quickly followed up with hits like Honey, Honey, and Ring Ring, solidifying their status as pop royalty. Yet it was not solely about the music, it was their image, their chemistry, and the joy they radiated that made them utterly irresistible. By the mid-1970s, Abba had evolved into a global phenomenon. Their albums flew off the shelves, and their songs topped charts in countries where audiences didn't even speak their language. Who cared about understanding the lyrics when the music compelled you to dance? Their song Dancing Queen, released in 1976, became an anthem that dominated the charts worldwide and secured a permanent place in music history. It was that song that made you feel invincible, even if you were simply grooving in your living room. Yet, what truly set Abba apart was not only their music, but also their ability to connect with people on a personal level. Their songs were vibrant and full of life, but behind the scenes, the dynamics among the band members were equally compelling, if not more so. Imagine being part of a group where you not only collaborated on chart-topping hits, but also had romantic relationships with your bandmates. It sounds like a fairy tale, but the reality turned out to be far more complex. As Abba soared to unimaginable heights, personal relationships within the group began to unravel, shaping their music and ultimately their legacy. At the heart of Abba were 2 married couples, Agnetha and Björn, Benny and Anni-Frid. Their love stories were intricately woven into the fabric of the band, adding a unique emotional depth to their music. When they sang about love, heartbreak, and longing, it felt authentic because it was real. However, this closeness came with its own set of challenges. Under the relentless gaze of the public eye, their relationships were scrutinized, and the pressures of fame began to expose cracks in their foundation. For Agnetha and Björn, the early days of their marriage were filled with hope. They were the golden couple of the group. Agnetha's angelic voice combined with Björn's keen songwriting skills created a partnership that seemed unstoppable. But as Abba's fame skyrocketed, so too did the demands on their time and energy. Endless touring, late nights in the studio, and the relentless pursuit of perfection took their toll. Benny and Björn were meticulous songwriters who settled for nothing less than excellence. Their quest for perfection led Abba to new heights, yet it also added tension to their creative process. One of the secrets to their success was their ability to reinvent themselves. While other bands of that era often stuck to a formula, Abba continually experimented with new sounds and themes. They weren't just producing pop music, they were creating art. Their songs resembled little stories, each capturing a moment, a feeling, or a memory. Moreover, their iconic fashion choices and theatrical performances made them trendsetters in every sense of the word. By the 1980s, Abba had achieved what most artists could only dream of. They sold millions of records, garnered countless awards, and left an indelible mark on the music industry. Yet, even as they basked in the glow of their success, cracks were beginning to form. The pressures of fame, combined with the realities of personal life, were starting to take a toll. The story of their rise is as captivating as the music they created, but as we will soon see, what goes up must come down. The shimmering curtain of Abba's magic was not only woven from their music, but also from their ability to resonate with people on a personal level. Their songs were bright and full of life, yet the dynamics of their relationships offered a narrative equally rich, if not richer, than their chart-topping hits. As we explore their journey, we'll uncover how the very connections that fueled their creativity also became the source of their greatest challenges. How did Agnetha and Björn, the couple behind some of the most romantic songs of all time, end up announcing their divorce? What turmoil lay beneath the glittering surface of Abba's success, and how did it fuel their creativity? As we dive into the fascinating yet tumultuous journey of Abba, we uncover a narrative filled with emotional highs and lows that resonates deeply with fans and music lovers alike. The music industry can be unforgiving, often leaving little room for the quiet moments necessary for nurturing relationships. For Agnetha, the pressures of life on the road became increasingly burdensome. She found herself yearning for the stability of family life, a stark contrast to the whirlwind existence that followed Abba's meteoric rise to fame. While Benny and Anni-Frid also faced their own challenges, their romance initially sparked with a fire that seemed indestructible. Benny emerged as the creative genius behind much of Abba's music, while Anni-Frid brought a touch of elegance that set them apart from their contemporaries. Together they formed a powerful duo, yet their love story, much like Agnetha and Björn's, was not immune to the strains of fame. As the years progressed into the late 1970s, the mounting pressures within the group began to take their toll. The success of hit songs such as Knowing Me, Knowing You, and The Name of the Game hinted at an emotional turbulence lurking beneath the surface. The song lyrics, often penned by Björn and Benny, took on a more introspective and melancholic tone, reflecting the real-life struggles the band members were grappling with. It was as if their music became a mirror, reflecting the joys and sorrows of their lives in real time. A defining moment arrived in 1979 when Agnetha and Björn announced their separation. For fans, the news was shocking. How could a couple responsible for crafting some of the world's most romantic hits come to such an end? Yet for those closer to the group, it was hardly surprising. The relentless grind of touring and recording had driven a wedge between them, distancing them emotionally. Even more astonishing was their decision to continue working together professionally despite their breakup. Imagine facing your ex every day, not just in a professional capacity, but in an emotionally charged environment like music creation. Their commitment to Abba testified to their dedication, but the strain was palpable. Just 2 years later, Benny and Anni-Frid followed suit, announcing their own divorce. By this point, the emotional dynamics within the group had become as complex as the harmonies in their songs. 4 individuals who once shared their lives, both personally and professionally, now navigated a minefield of emotions while still attempting to create music together. Interestingly, this period of personal struggle seemed to invigorate their creativity. Some of Abba's most poignant songs emerged during this tumultuous time, including The Winner Takes It All. Many fans interpret this track as a direct reflection of Agnetha and Björn's emotional separation. The song, stunning in its beauty, features lyrics that pierce the heart. Agnetha's raw and emotional performance remains one of Abba's most iconic moments. Although Björn has consistently stated that the song is not autobiographical, it's hard to ignore the echoes of real-life pain within its melodies. Throughout these emotional upheavals, Abba's professionalism remained steadfast. They continued to show up for recording sessions, perform for their devoted fans, and maintain a united front. However, behind the scenes, the atmosphere began to shift. The once strong camaraderie that defined the band started to fray. It It was not that they no longer cared for one another, but rather that the weight of their intertwined histories, combined with the pressure to maintain their success, created a tension that could not be overlooked. By the early 1980s, the cracks began to widen. While their music remained exceptional, it started to echo a sense of fatigue. Songs like One of Us and When All Is Said and Done carried a bittersweet quality, as if the band members were bidding farewell not only to their fans, but also to each other. The joyous exuberance that characterized their earlier hits gave way to something more reflective and tinged with melancholy. It's crucial to remember that Abba was not just a band. They were like a family, and like any family, they experienced their share of ups and downs. What made their story so compelling, however, was how they translated these experiences into their music. Their songs were not merely catchy melodies. They were snapshots of their lives, capturing the highs and lows with unflinching honesty. This authenticity is what set Abba apart. They did not just sing about love and heartbreak, they lived it. As the band approached the brink of the 1980s, the emotional toll of their experiences began to seep into every aspect of their professional lives. Their music continued to charm audiences with its catchy hooks, but now it was underscored by an emotional weight that was hard to ignore. The focus shifted from purely creating music to grappling with a tumultuous emotional landscape. The fractures that began with their divorces had now evolved into deeper rifts. Years of close collaboration, shared triumphs, and heartaches took their toll. Once united by a common dream, they now found that same dream had morphed into a burden. Their musical endeavors were no longer just about artistry, they were now a balancing act between professionalism and personal feelings. One of the most significant challenges Abba faced during this time was the relentless scrutiny from the media. Wherever they turned, they were met with reporters dissecting every move, every lyric, and every performance. Audiences were not only interested in their music, but also in the drama that unfolded behind it. Fans speculated wildly about who wrote certain lyrics and what those words meant. Were these veiled messages between former lovers or mere snippets of private conversations transformed into public art? Despite their efforts to maintain professionalism, the band could not escape the questions surrounding their music, nor should they have been able to. Their songs were deeply personal, precisely because they reflected their real-life experiences. But the pressure came not just from the outside, it was also palpable within the studio. Benny and Björn, the creative engines of the group, began to assert themselves more forcefully, with a vision for Abba that was evolving. They sought to experiment, expand their boundaries, and explore darker, more complex themes. This shift was not inherently negative. It led to some of Abba's most intricate and emotionally charged works. Nevertheless, it did spark tensions within the group. Agnetha and Anni-Frid, who had always been the voices of Abba, occasionally found themselves at odds with this new direction. The harmonious collaboration that once defined Abba began to feel more like a tug-of-war. A vivid example of this creative tension played out during the recording of The Visitors, Abba's final studio album. Gone was the vibrant, effervescent Abba of the Dancing Queen era. Instead, the group emerged from their trials and tribulations, and it showed in their music. The songs on The Visitors were introspective and heavy, tackling themes of loneliness, uncertainty, and the passage of time. Tracks like When All Is Said and Done and One of Us transcended the ordinary, becoming profound reflections of their collective experiences and emotions. In this era of Abba, the music was not just entertainment. It was a testament to the complexities of their intertwined lives. Each note they created encapsulated their struggles, triumphs, and the inevitable changes that come with time. The band's journey serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between personal and professional lives, and how the two can profoundly influence one another, shaping the very essence of their art. Did you ever wonder what it was like for Abba to navigate the bittersweet journey of fame, love, and separation? How did Benny and Björn transform their heartbreak into musical genius while facing a changing industry? And what happened to Agnetha and Anni-Frid as they ventured into solo careers, leaving behind a legacy that defined pop music? As you listen to Abba's poignant melodies and haunting lyrics, you can almost feel the weight of their emotional struggles. This iconic group, known for their vibrant sound, took a darker turn in their music, reflecting the personal challenges they faced. Yet, despite the turbulence, Abba's professionalism remained unmatched. Their performances were infused with the same energy and charisma that catapulted them to stardom. If you had been lucky enough to attend one of their concerts, you might not have sensed anything amiss. They smiled, danced, and hit every note perfectly, all while dealing with the storm brewing behind the scenes. The emotional strain of staying together as a band amidst their crumbling personal lives became increasingly palpable. Another layer of complexity was added with the rapid evolution of the music scene. As the dawn of the 1980s arrived, pop music was undergoing a significant transformation. New sounds, fresh artists, and emerging trends were reshaping the landscape around them. While Abba still basked in immense popularity, they found themselves in a precarious position. Disco, which had been a cornerstone of their sound, was waning in favor of synthpop and new wave. Although Abba had always shown a willingness to adapt, the burden of personal struggles made this transition particularly challenging. Even with these obstacles, Abba forged ahead, releasing several songs, including the haunting "The Day Before You Came." Many fans consider this track one of their most emotionally powerful and beautiful compositions. However, by this point, it was clear that the members of the group were not just grappling with their creative and emotional issues, but were also beginning to explore new opportunities. Benny and Björn, in particular, shifted their focus to musical theater, laying the groundwork for ambitious projects like Chess. Meanwhile, Agnetha and Anni-Frid set their sights on solo careers, signaling that Abba was no longer their sole priority. As the end of 1982 approached, the band quietly opted for a hiatus. This was not an official breakup, at least not initially. To their fans and the media, they framed it as a temporary break to pursue individual projects. However, as the years rolled by, it became evident that this break was destined to be permanent. Abba's journey came to a close not with a bang, but with a soft, bittersweet farewell. Their disbandment wasn't marked by explosive arguments or dramatic announcements. Instead, it was a gradual and inevitable unraveling. Having devoted their lives to their music, the group finally decided it was time to let go. The way Abba concluded their story speaks volumes about their mutual respect for one another and their audience. They chose not to tarnish their legacy with public disputes or sensational headlines. Instead, they allowed their music to speak for itself, leaving behind a timeless catalog of work. When Abba ultimately stepped away from the spotlight, it wasn't just the end of a band. It felt like the closing of a significant chapter in pop music history. Their presence was so deeply woven into the cultural fabric that imagining a world without new Abba songs seemed nearly impossible. Yet, as the members went their separate ways, the story didn't merely stop. On the contrary, it transitioned into a new phase, brimming with nostalgia, re-evaluation, and the enduring power of their music. The 1980s proved to be a peculiar time for Abba's legacy. As individual members pursued solo endeavors, the collective presence of the group appeared to diminish. The pop music scene was evolving rapidly, and Abba's signature sound no longer aligned with the decade's trends. Benny and Björn channeled their creative energy into musical theater, creating works like Chess, which showcased their ability to craft intricate and emotionally rich compositions. This wasn't just a side project, it was a full-fledged artistic undertaking, producing songs that were as complex as anything they had ever created as Abba. Tracks like I Know Him So Well blossomed into hits in their own right, proving that the magic of Benny and Björn extended far beyond the confines of the group. Meanwhile, Agnetha found herself in a different position altogether. She embarked on a solo career, releasing albums that highlighted her ethereal voice and emotional depth. Although she tasted some success, it became evident that life in the public eye was wearing her down. Agnetha had always been more reserved than her bandmates, and without the protective bubble of Abba, she became increasingly reclusive. The relentless attention from fans and the media didn't help her quest for peace, rather, it seemed to amplify the pressure she was trying to escape. In contrast, Anni-Frid embraced her new chapter with enthusiasm. She released solo albums, including the critically acclaimed Something's Going On. Produced by Phil Collins, this album diverged from Abba's signature sound, veering into a darker, rock-inflected territory that revealed a different facet of her artistry. Anni-Frid's career flourished in the initial years after Abba, but like her bandmates, she eventually stepped back from the music scene, opting for a quieter and more personal life. As the years passed, the absence of Abba in the musical landscape became increasingly evident. For their fans, this was a bittersweet pill to swallow. The band had given them so much, yet their departure left a void that no other artist seemed capable of filling. Nevertheless, even as the members of Abba distanced themselves from public life, their music refused to fade into obscurity. On the contrary, it began to take on a life of its own, growing in significance and reach with each passing year. A pivotal moment came in the 1990s when Abba's music experienced a remarkable resurgence. This revival kicked off with the release of Abba Gold, a greatest hits compilation that reminded the world of the brilliance of their songs. The album quickly became a commercial success, selling millions of copies and introducing a new generation to timeless classics like Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen. Suddenly, Abba was not just a nostalgic memory, they became a cultural phenomenon once again. What made this revival so thrilling was its organic nature. Abba's music had always transcended time, but in the 1990s it found new relevance. Their songs began appearing in films, advertisements, and television shows, becoming cultural symbols that had eluded them during their heyday. To younger audiences, Abba was not a relic of the past, but a fresh, vibrant, and endlessly catchy presence. For longtime fans, it was an opportunity to relive the magic all over again. Of course, the true turning point came with the debut of Mamma Mia, a musical that transformed Abba's songs into a theatrical spectacle. Premiering in London's West End in 1999, it quickly became a sensation, marrying the group's iconic music with a heartwarming and humorous storyline. It was everything fans could have hoped for, a celebration of Abba's legacy that breathed new life into their music. When the musical was adapted into a blockbuster film starring Meryl Streep in 2008, it cemented Abba's place in pop culture permanently. In this journey of triumphs and tribulations, Abba's story is a testament to the power of music to transcend personal struggles and societal changes, leaving an indelible mark on the world. What makes Abba's story so compelling? How did this iconic group defy the odds and remain relevant long after their initial breakup? Will we ever see them back on stage, together again? These questions linger in the minds of fans, as the tale of Abba continues to unfold in remarkable ways. The most striking aspect of Abba's historical journey is how it shattered expectations. While most bands fade into obscurity after disbanding, their hits relegated to nostalgia playlists and radio stations dedicated to the past, Abba defied this norm. Their music not only survived the test of time, it flourished, reaching unprecedented heights and resonating with listeners in ways that few could have anticipated. This phenomenon speaks volumes about their artistry, storytelling prowess, and their unique ability to convey universal emotions that feel both personal and profound. As Abba's legacy expanded, the question of a reunion became increasingly prominent. Fans couldn't help but wonder if they would ever come together again. The members of the group were frequently asked about this possibility, and although they consistently left the door ajar, they made it clear that a reunion was not in the cards. This wasn't due to animosity, rather it was a mutual understanding among the members that their magic was intrinsically tied to a specific time and place. Attempts to recapture that essence could potentially do more harm than good. Yet the dream of a reunion lived on, fueled by sporadic hints and rumors. In 2016, fans were given a glimmer of hope when Abba reunited for a private performance at a party in Stockholm. While this wasn't a full-fledged comeback, it was sufficient to send shockwaves through the world. Seeing the four members together was akin to stepping into a time machine, a reminder of everything they had achieved and the profound impact they had on their fans. What makes Abba's history particularly fascinating is its ongoing evolution. Decades after their breakup, they remain as relevant as ever, with their music continually woven into the fabric of our lives. Whether it's a new generation discovering Dancing Queen for the first time or longtime fans revisiting their favorite albums, Abba's magic shows no signs of fading. Though their journey has not always been smooth, it is ultimately a story of resilience, creativity, and the enduring power of music to unite people. The legacy of Abba, along with the myriad unanswered questions, suggests that their story is far from over. It didn't conclude with their separation, or even with their return to the public eye through projects like Mamma Mia and the revival of their greatest hits. The final chapter of their journey proved to be just as astonishing and emotional as everything that preceded it. For years, fans held out hope for something more, something definitive, be it a reunion or new music. Although Abba had always been protective of their legacy, no one could have predicted what would transpire next. As the closing years of the 2000 teens approached, the members of Abba had carved out lives outside the band. Benny and Björn continued to pursue music and theater, channeling their creative energy into projects like Kristina från Duvemåla and chess revivals. Meanwhile, Agnetha and Anni-Frid largely stepped away from the spotlight, leading quieter lives far removed from the chaos that had surrounded them as pop stars. Fans began to believe that a chance reunion, similar to the one at the Stockholm party in 2016, was all they could hope for. After all, Abba had insisted that they would not return unless they had something truly special to offer. Then, in 2018, an announcement rocked the music world. Abba revealed they were working on new music, their first since 1980. This news seemed almost too good to be true. After decades of silence, the group returned to the studio, not for a mammoth tour or a rehashing of old hits, but to create something fresh and new. The announcement was met with a mixture of excitement and skepticism. How could Abba's music sound after so many years? Would they be able to recapture the magic that had turned them into legends? The journey to this moment was not without its challenges. For years, Abba had hesitated to reunite, not because of any bad blood, but due to a shared understanding of the stakes involved. How could they return after such a long hiatus and meet the expectations of a world that had placed them on a pedestal? This was a daunting decision, but as Benny later explained, the timing felt right. They had found a way to collaborate that felt natural, effortless, and most importantly, joyful. What set this return apart was that it was not an attempt to recreate the past. Abba wasn't interested in chasing trends or competing with the younger artists dominating the charts. Instead, they focused on staying true to themselves, crafting music that reflected their current state as individuals and as a band. And the result was their 2021 album, Voyage, a collection of songs that felt both timeless and contemporary, an emotional bridge between the Abba of the 70s and the Abba of today. Listening to Voyage, one can feel the heart and soul poured into each track. Songs like I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down serve as new additions to their catalog, deeply personal reflections on their journey. These themes of love, resilience, and the passage of time remain as relevant today as they were during their heyday. While the album radiates nostalgia, it doesn't evoke a sense of longing for the past. Instead, it celebrates all that Abba has been and all that they still have to offer. The release of Voyage was accompanied by another groundbreaking project, a virtual concert featuring digital avatars of the group members, aptly named Abbatars. This ambitious and revolutionary idea utilized cutting-edge technology to recreate Abba at their prime, performing alongside a live band in a specially constructed arena in London. It was a way to bring the magic of Abba to a new generation of fans while simultaneously honoring the band's legacy. The response to this virtual concert was overwhelmingly positive, with both fans and critics praising the show for its innovation and emotional resonance. What stands out most about Abba's return is how they managed to strike the perfect balance between nostalgia and reinvention. They didn't return merely to relive their glory days. They came back to contribute something meaningful to their narrative, reminding the world why they were significant in the first place. Their music has always been connected to people, encapsulating universal experiences of love, heartbreak, and hope. Voyage is no exception. It is a gift to fans, a reminder that even after all these years, the magic of Abba is still alive and well. The reaction to their return has been nothing short of extraordinary. Voyage topped charts around the globe, proving that Abba's appeal has not diminished in the slightest. Both old and new fans flocked to virtual concerts, eager to experience something as close to a live Abba performance as possible. While the group members themselves remained somewhat behind the scenes, allowing the music and technology to take center stage, their presence was felt in every note, every lyric, and every moment of the show. Looking back, it's astonishing to consider how far Abba has come. They began as four young dreamers in Sweden, making music for the sheer joy of it. They evolved into global icons, navigating the highs and lows of fame, love, and heartache. Now, decades later, they have come full circle, reminding the world why they fell in love with Abba in the first place. It's not just about the music, it's about the connections, the emotions, and the stories they've shared. Abba's journey is not merely a success story, it is a tale of resilience, creativity, and the timeless power of music. They have faced challenges, both as a group and as individuals, but they have always found a way to rise again. Have you ever been surprised by a plot twist? How often do we find ourselves on the edge of our seats, eagerly awaiting the next unexpected turn in the stories of our favorite stars? What if I told you that not everything unfolds as we anticipate, and that very unpredictability is what makes these stories so thrilling? Let's dive into the captivating world of celebrity narratives and explore the unforeseen paths that have kept us all guessing. The lives of public figures can often resemble a dramatic roller coaster ride. Take, for instance, the unexpected developments in the lives of stars that we thought we knew. Just when we think we have them all figured out, a shocking event or revelation can change everything. It's this element of surprise that not only captivates our attention, but also ignites endless discussions amongst fans and critics alike. Why do we find ourselves so drawn to these unpredictable twists? Perhaps it's because they remind us that life, much like the stories we consume, is filled with uncertainties and surprises. Imagine a beloved celebrity whose journey takes an unexpected turn. a career choice that nobody saw coming, or a personal struggle that reveals their vulnerability. These moments not only add depth to their character, but also resonate with us on a personal level. They remind us that behind the glitz and glamour, there are real people facing real challenges. It's this authenticity, combined with the thrill of the unexpected, that hooks us in and keeps us coming back for more. What do you think about this unpredictable nature of celebrity stories? Have you been caught off guard by any recent developments? We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Feel free to share your perspectives in the comments section below. Engaging in these discussions not only enriches our understanding, but also strengthens our community of viewers who share a passion for the ever-evolving, often surprising world of entertainment. So let's keep the conversation going and celebrate the excitement that unpredictability brings into our lives.